Hey guys, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 4, Episode 14. Okay, Season 4, Episode 14 was very interesting, but I'm not going to be doing a full episode recap as there are plenty of other content creators who do a good job of this. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on specific segments of the episode that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. This was a really interesting episode for me. We learned a lot about the dynamics in Martell's family, which would explain why he treated Melody the way that he did. We learned that Martell was cheating on Melody before they even got married. And, Tisha and Martell had this conversation about how important sex is for a man in a relationship. What's interesting is that when men are asked why women can't run the world, they say women are too emotional. They don't know how to control themselves. They get periods and mood swings. But they never discuss the fact that a man is willing to destroy his entire empire for some sex. Women aren't that stupid. But yet, whenever men are asked why women can't rule the world, they project their shortcomings onto us. For Martell to get rid of his entire empire that he was growing because he didn't get sex enough. It wasn't like he wasn't getting any sex at all, right? But Melody turning down Martell triggered him because he started to compete with Melody. But I'm going to start from the beginning here, okay? So Martell has this wine launching event. I think its name, I'm not even going to try to remember the name. Okay, so Martell had this wine launch event and he's getting dressed and I'm like, this dude is so vain and so desperate for attention. So he put this white emotional support mink stole on his shoulder with a white tux and no shirt or nothing underneath it, right? Walking down the stairs like Cinderella. And everybody's like, yay, Martell, King Martell, right? He's walking down the stairs like a princess, coming down the palace steps. And I realized that Martell loves attention. I knew it before, but he needs it. He craves it. Martell has Mars in the 10th house. And the 10th house is the most visible house in the astrology chart. It's the house of your career, your reputation, social status, etc. Martell has a malefic here, so he may be, he is competitive when it comes to getting attention. He doesn't like anybody encroaching on his attention, on his status. He wants to be the baddest bitch in the room, right? So ever since I started reviewing this show, right, I would have to go through Google Images to find pictures of Melody and Martell for like the thumbnails and the screenshots, right? And I noticed that a few months ago, Martell's face, when he was with Melody, his face would be 100% towards the camera and Melody will be turned 3/4 towards the camera. You could see like some of her face is still facing Martell. Martell's entire face, 100% of his face would be like absorbing the light of the camera flashes. It's almost like he was trying to project himself in front of Melody in these photos. I've seen this several times. I have some screenshot examples of this. If you look at your screen, you can see like pictures of Martell and Melody together, but his face is completely turned toward the camera, and she's just there as like an appendage or something. Melody her energy is a lot more cooperative in those pictures. She looks like she's with him. Martell looks like he's by himself in those pictures, right? So I noticed that months ago and I was like, this dude is a fame hog. He really is a fame hog, right? So things started to make more sense as the episode progressed. I've always said that Martell was jealous of Melody because she became more successful in their businesses, and she got a lot more accolades and more support and appreciation from the general public because she's a really good public speaker. She's very confident, outgoing. And initially, when Martell and Melody first got together, right? Because Melody has Mars in Libra too. So Melody's Mars is in the same house as Martell's Mars. There's a Mars conjunct Mars aspect here, which is great when it comes to business and for competition and for sports and things like that. When these two come together as a team, nobody can defeat them, right? However, because Martell's Mars is in a negative aspect, or is in a square aspect to his sun, which means he has to learn how to share and not be too competitive. Martell started to destroy his relationship with Melody because she was getting too much attention. So he started to compete against her. Why do I not think Melody was competing against Martell? Because one, Melody was the woman in the situation. So women are more likely to share power than men, just because, right? Venus loves to share. Mars is a hoarder of energy and power. They don't like to share anything, okay? Depends on what house is in. Mars doesn't like to share, right? So Melody's Mars is not in a tense aspect to her sun, moon, or ascendant, right? Melody's Mars is well integrated into her personality. So she knows how to be competitive when she needs to be, but she also knows how to be cooperative when she needs to be. And that is why she's able to move and shake the way that she does. Martell has a difficult time sharing the spotlight with anybody, right? So what happened was Martell started to feel threatened by Melody's rise in their profession. And this triggered the Mars square Sun aspect. The sun is your identity, it's your ego, it's your psyche, right? So Martell's Mars, his ambitions and his competitiveness is in conflict with his ego. He has a difficult time sharing. He's very competitive with the people in his family as well, because the 10th house is opposite the 4th house. So Martell will be the type of child who needs to have all the attention on them. He'd be the type of child to be competing with his relatives. He wants to be the golden child in the family, right? So Martell wanted to hoard that moment. Because initially I thought that Martell had stage fright. And I do think he has stage fright. So, okay. Martell walked down the stairs like a bad bitch. And everybody said, yay. Then he got stumped, right? He invited Maurice Marceau Lewis up to the stairs with him to, to celebrate or whatever, to honor them. But then he also, I forgot, let me bring up Fred and what's his name? Chris, right? And so I was like, okay, you could tell he was nervous. And I was like, maybe his nervousness was the reason why he forgot his Uncle Sam. So I felt bad for him because I know how stage fright feels. I've had stage fright before. And as I've gotten older and I've had to manage people and give speeches and throw events and things like that, I've had to overcome those things. The best way to get over stage fright is to prepare as much as you can. If you know everything from back to front, in and out, left to right, inside out, then it's easier for you to get back on track if you get nervous or you get caught off guard or whatever. So Martell didn't even have his speech prepared. Martell spent more time on his outfits than he did his speech, right? And so, production showed all of the times that Melody was speaking in public on behalf of the family. And that was something that Martell has an issue with. There is no shame in that, and I don't want to make fun of him for that. That's not something you would, it's difficult to deal with that. I understand how he feels. However, I don't think that was the reason why he got stumped at this event. I think he got stumped because his conscience was messing with him. He saw all these men up there with him and his uncle's right there. His uncle is the son of his grandmother, okay? So Martell's grandmother, Inez, okay, that's the name. Miss Inez is Sam's mother. And Martell wanted to honor his grandmother, right? By naming the wine after her, okay? So I think that Martell wanted to act like Miss Inez belonged to him only. That is what I meant by saying that Martell is competitive with his family too, because Martell's Mars is opposite the 4th house of home and family. This is somebody who wants to be the star of the family. So by bringing Samuel up there with him, he would have to share the spotlight by saying, okay, Even though this is my grandmother, this is his mama. So Sam has more dibs, I guess, with his own mother than Martell does as with his grandmother. When Martell was speaking with his mother, he said, that's my grandma too, but that's his mother. You're going to name something after my mother and not even have her son there to honor her at all? So I knew that Martell was full of crap, because when Sam confronted him outside, instead of Martell apologizing, he pulled Sam to him. He was so embarrassed. He said, don't do this on camera. Don't embarrass me on camera. Meanwhile, this man acted a whole fool with Melody for the past few seasons, losing his temper, destroying his family, getting his mistress pregnant. But now he doesn't want to be confronted by Sam, because Sam confronting him exposed him. It wasn't just about a mistake, because Martell could have said, oh no, my bad. Let me fix this up. This is my event. Let me fix this up. Yo guys, I'm sorry. I forgot my Uncle Sam. He is Inez's son. He's my uncle. And without him, blase, blase, blah. I'm so sorry for forgetting I have stage fright. I forgot. I'm so sorry. But this is my uncle. Please give him a round of applause, whatever. He could have shared that moment with his uncle. He could have corrected it. But instead he said, don't embarrass me. He was embarrassed of his uncle, or he did not want his uncle to share in the spotlight with him. Him and his emotional support mink ferret thing on his shoulder wanted all the shine for himself. That's why he invited his homies and his frat brothers, but not his blood uncle. And then he told Miss Marlene, yeah, we're going to have something for the family that's more intimate. No, why can't you honor your family publicly, right? You want to be the only star in your family. That's what it feels like to me. So now we come to Melody. Melody comes along pretty, ambitious, outgoing, charismatic, exceptional public speaker, confident, right? And initially Martell was cool with that, because Melody's gifts is giving him more attention. Oh, that's your woman? You married to her? They're on the cover of magazines together. Melody's making Martell look good. She's feeding his 10th house because her Mars is there too. They're a great team together when they're on the same side. However, Martell started to feel threatened by Melody's shine. Martell doesn't want to share shine with anybody. So what happened was Martell started to punish. He tried to punish Melody by saying, the reason why I'm cheating on you is because you're not giving me enough. You're not submitting to me. Submitting in Martell mind means you are taking too much of my light. You are too popular. You're too famous. You're too goal-oriented. You're too successful. Your light is too bright for me. I can't compete with that, right? So now I'm going to cheat on you with somebody who don't want to be in the spotlight, who I would never associate with in public in front of everybody. This is why I said Martell's embarrassed of Ariane too. I said this months ago. It's crazy how a lot of things I've said months ago are actually coming to pass now. And I don't know these people from a can of paint. People are like, oh, you must know Melody. I don't know anybody on this show. But I can see based on, how the characters are acting, what's happening behind the scenes and what's happening in their minds. Martell is embarrassed of Ariane. She is a black eye on his reputation. And with Mars in the 10th house, you are very protective of your reputation. You do not want people to embarrass you. And if people embarrass you, you're going to try to do your best to embarrass them. So Martell got embarrassed when Melody exposed him for being the fraud that he is. So he tried to destroy her with the same kind of Martian energy. This is another reason why I said Martell was so angry with Melody. I said this months ago. I said he was angry with her, not just because, she exposed his cheating per se, or she left him. He got angry with her because she ruined his public reputation. With his Mars in the 10th house, he felt like he was being attacked. His ego was being destroyed because Melody threw a grenade on this false reality that he had created for himself. This false image and representation of himself. He was furious with Melody for that. She embarrassed him publicly. And that Mars came out. Mars conjunct Pluto. Okay. If you're going to try to destroy me, I'll just try to destroy you. You're a hoe. You're a bad mother. You're not satisfying me. I'm going to do everything in my power to destroy your image because you have destroyed mine. Not by lying, but by telling the truth about who I really am, by exposing my bullshit. I'm now going to do my best to destroy you and make you look as bad as I feel about myself now that people know that there's an emperor with no clothes in this situation. Okay? So Martell wears his suits and his outfits. He wants to be admired and worshipped like a celebrity or a king or royalty. Oh, he's a debilitated Capricorn. This is a debilitated Capricorn because his sun in Capricorn is square his Pluto and his Mars. This is somebody who has a difficult time with power, with attention, with praise, with competition and jealousy. This is somebody who does not like to share the spotlight with anybody. So he got with Arion, somebody who was a peasant. Okay? That's why he called her a peasant, because he sees himself as a king. That's Mars in the 10th house. That's also the sun in the 10th house too. Right? So he sees himself as a king. He didn't call Arion a peasant because Melody wanted him to. He called Arion a peasant because that's how he sees her, because he sees himself as a king. However, he is a paper king. He's a king without a kingdom, a king without self-esteem, a king without any talent or gifts or skills besides looking attractive in suits. So this, the clothes that he wears is a part of his personality. He thinks that makes him more of a king. Right? He wants people to admire him for how he looks, not for what he does. Okay? When he said that he didn't do the combine because his grandma died, no, he didn't do the combine because he didn't want to get showed up by other successful potential athletes who were competing for the same, NFL career. He didn't want to compete in that way. He didn't want to compete among equals. He just wanted to show up and be admired just because he's Martell. And when Melody showed him up, just by her being her, because Melody can harness power more productively than Martell, because for her, Mars is not in a square aspect to any of her planets. She's also ruled by Pluto, which deals with power. So she knows how to use her power in a way that is helpful to other people, that's affirming to other people, but she also knows how to compete when necessary. She doesn't let her competition destroy her opportunities. Martell will let his competitive nature destroy his opportunities for advancement. That is Mars square the sun. Now you want to be the first in line. You want to be the most popular, the most famous. You're going to destroy your relationship with somebody who was, leveling you up, with somebody who was upgrading you. So you destroyed the person who was giving you that clout. That is Mars square the sun. Okay, I want to be the first. And if I can't be first, I will destroy anybody who gets in the way of that. I want to be in the limelight. Melody was taking my shine away. So I'm going to say she's not submitting to me. I'm going to try to break her down and make her, I want her on her knees. I want Melody on her knees, bowing before the king. That's what he was trying to say. I want my wife to bow down before me on her knees, submitting to me because I'm the king here. However, Melody is like, yo, my Mars is in the same place as you. I know you. And if you want to go toe to toe with me, you're going to lose because my Mars is in your 10th house. That means that I can destroy you publicly. Not intentionally, right? By just me pulling my energy away from you and exposing you for who you are, you're going to lose. Martell felt threatened by Melody because her Mars is in his 10th house and Mars is a malefic. So again, if he could not work with her, he was competing with her. If he couldn't use her to make himself look better, right? If she was starting to eclipse him with her success and her, hard work and her intellect and her great speaking abilities, because she's a great public speaker. Very confident. She absorbs that light too, but she knows how to use it a lot more productively than Martell. She doesn't use it to hurt people necessarily, unless she has to, right? So with Martell, okay, I'm going to expose you for your shit. I don't have to lie on you. I can just show people who you really are. That is why Martell went extra hard on Melody. He resents her for that because he feels like she destroyed him. He feels like she had the strength and the power to basically dethrone the king. And she did. Because guess what? She built the kingdom. Somebody in the comment section last week was saying, oh, you're not giving Martell enough credit. Martell did that and the third. I'm not saying that Martell in the beginning of their relationship did not work with Melody hard as well. But Melody obviously took it more seriously than he did, right? She wasn't just relying on her looks and her femininity, because Melody was trying to be successful in a white male-dominated industry. Melody is a black woman in the South trying to be successful in a white male-dominated industry, right? So Melody had to be on her A game, period. I got these white men second-guessing me. I got these black men second-guessing me. I got other women second-guessing me. I got to be on point. Now, Martell did help her in the sense that he gave her some sort of legitimacy. Not because she didn't know what she was doing, but like I said, there's a lot of chauvinists down south. And a lot of chauvinists in the South, they don't respect women who are not married or who don't have a man to protect them. I'll give you an example. This is like somebody who's like a really successful woman, right? And then when she's around other successful men, they'll greet her husband before they greet her. I've seen this happen, in New York also. Like there's in some circles, the husband is respected more than the wife. So Martell kind of had to be there in a sense to help Melody gain legitimacy. Not because she didn't know what she was doing, but because she's a woman. We're in the patriarchy. So Martell felt like, well, I just have to show up. And that kind of fed his ego too, because he just had to show up. And Melody was doing all the work, all the presenting, but Martell looked like the man because Melody was sharing the power with him. But then, like I said, people started to notice, oh, Melody's the only one speaking here. She's the only one who knows all the facts. Martell's out in the field, managing and supervising the contractors, but he's not negotiating contracts. He's not, corresponding via email. He's not making these presentations and planning all these proposals. He's not doing that. No, Melody's doing that. So people started to see Melody for what she was doing. She had to get it out the mud. She didn't have her gender or her race working in her favor. Yes, she's very pretty and charming, but sometimes that works against women in certain industries, right? Especially in the South. Okay? So Martell started to feel eclipsed by Melody, right? And that emotional support ferret stole on his shoulder told him not to bring his uncle up there because it would take away his shine. I think Chris knew what it was, and Maurice, it was nice to see that his homies were supporting him, but Martell felt really guilty about not bringing his uncle up there. I don't think Martell really took the time to reflect on his personality issues. I don't think he's really done that because he got caught off guard. He didn't even plan this out. He just worked off impulse, and impulsively, he just didn't want his uncle up there because he's used to competing with his family members. He wants to be the star of the family, and inviting his uncle up there would have taken away some of his shine. Period. That's because I was like, oh, I feel so bad for him. It's embarrassing. However, the way Martell grabbed his uncle with his neck exposed. When Martell grabbed his uncle with his neck and his chest exposed, like he was trying to kiss him or something, he was so embarrassed he didn't even want the camera to see his mouth moving, but the camera picked it up anyway. Martell does not want anybody to see him for who he really is. It's hilarious because Martell tries really hard to present himself in a certain way, but because he does it in a way that is not well integrated with who he really is, it looks forced. So then Martell going to tell his uncle, do you know who I am? What you mean? How you going to say that to your family? Do you know? This is why I think Martell's used to being the star in his family. He was either coddled or neglected, okay? Or both. Or he was only valued for his appearance. Look at how handsome Martell is. He can do no wrong. He's my golden child. A lot of women in the South treat their sons who are handsome like this, like they can do no wrong. So Martell was used to being coddled and pampered by his grandmother. I don't know about his mother, because like I said, yeah. He was used to being coddled and pampered by the women in his life. His mother makes excuses for them all the time, right? And that's her brother that Martell stiffed. She should know that Martell wants to be the head honcho in the family, right? And then Melody comes along. I wouldn't be surprised if Martell had this pimp mentality mindset towards Melody. She makes me look good. I've been said this though. But she makes me look good. She's valuable to me because she makes me look good. As soon as she starts to make me feel bad or look bad because she's smarter than I am, because she's more knowledgeable than I am, because she's a harder worker than I am, I'm going to try to destroy her by comparing her with a peasant. So now I'm going to force my wife to compete with a peasant to appease my ego. There was nothing Melody could have done except become worthless or to act helpless or like Arion. Martell wanted Melody to destroy herself so that he can look like the man. I want somebody who needs me. I want somebody who makes me feel appreciated and needed. Then we find out that Melody was doing most of the child rearing inside and outside the house, doing the girls' hair, cooking and cleaning, all this stuff that Martell said he was doing, and giving birth to babies and running businesses while he was cheating on her throughout their entire relationship. I try to give Martell the benefit of the doubt, right? But I'm not surprised that he was cheating from the beginning. I'm not surprised. But I really wanted to give Martell the benefit of the doubt because I'm like, okay, somebody can't be this fucked up. You can't be this. But then I'm like, okay, he's a narcissist. That makes sense. He needs constant attention. But when Melody said, Melanika said that he was cheating and others, I wasn't surprised. I just felt so bad for her because she's been dealing with this for a long time. But when Melody first left Martell, she was like, we had a good marriage. That's what she said. So I wanted to believe that. I don't think she had enough frame of reference to know what a good marriage was supposed to be. I think that Martell had a lot of good qualities that he used to offset a lot of his issues, right? And Melody was like blindsided by that because she didn't really see examples of men being as hands-on with their children as Martell was with his kids, and Martell looked good doing it. And I don't think he doesn't love his kids, but Melody, I think she was only 22 when she married him. That's a baby. That is the golden age for Kevin Samuels and his followers, right? They want you to pick a woman that's below 27 years old. Why 27? 27 to 28, that is the Saturn return for everybody. So by a woman's first Saturn return, she knows these niggas left and right. She should. By a woman's Saturn return, her first Saturn return is 27, 28. That's why that's the golden number for men. That's when she'll realize, oh, these men are lying. These men are manipulative. These men are not anything to worship or to put on a pedestal, right? From 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 to 27, 26, we're like, oh, these men are my knight in shining armor. But by the time you get to 27, 28, and you've learned some hard lessons because Saturn's like, listen, you fucking up right now. You might have your first baby. You might go get into a domestic violence incident. Whatever you were doing wrong before the age of 27, 26 even, Saturn will punish you for this, or he will correct you. And correction sometimes feels like punishment. Okay? So if you're on the wrong path, by 28, Saturn will say, okay, you got to do better. I'm going to put you in a situation that will force you to see that these men ain't shit. You will learn the hard way. That's why men want women who are under a certain age, because they haven't reached their maturity Saturn return period yet. They'll be naive like Melody, believing everything that Martell says. So Martell, in my opinion, I think he was cheating the whole time because he needed his ego to be massaged. And Melody seems like she's always had something going on. Either she was working or doing whatever. When they started their businesses, it seemed like a good thing for Martell because he was going to be looked at as an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that Martell doesn't have anything to offer, but I think he is ego motivated. In education, we talk about what motivates students to learn, right? Some students are motivated by ego. Like, okay, I want to be the student that's in front of the class with the star and the ribbon on their test paper. I want to be the best, the smartest, not for the sake of having knowledge, but for the sake of being better than other students, right? Then there are students who are motivated by attaining knowledge. They want to be the best at what they do as far as understanding certain concepts because they feel like the more knowledge they have, the better they'll be able to self-actualize, right? So Martell, in my opinion, is motivated to be an entrepreneur for the sake of his ego. All this congratulations, and there's no, Chris said, we're the distributors. You don't have any that sign up yet? Oh, you just want this, you just want to be looked at as an entrepreneur. You just want the party and the pomp. All this whole thing happened, and there's no business happening yet. You're celebrating what? You just wanted an opportunity to walk down the stairs in your glass slippers with the emotional support mink stole ferret thing on your shoulder so that you can be worshipped like the king, right? You know how kings and queens come out of their palaces and the masses of what's the word I'm going to use? Peasants. The masses of peasants. Oh my God, Queen Elizabeth, fake ass Queen Elizabeth, Queen whatever, right? Prince Charles. Oh my God, yay! Martell wants that kind of energy. This is a debilitated Capricorn, because Capricorn is the sign of the king. It's the sign of the patriarch. But when it's poorly aspected to other planets like Mars and Pluto, then you're going to have situations where somebody wants their ego to be stroked for doing absolutely nothing. So Arion was a great ego stroker for Martell as long as he had Melody, because Arion was being used as a weapon to destroy his wife. I always talk about how narcissists weaponize their supply against their main supply. They weaponize their side pieces against their main supply to make them insecure, to make them feel better about themselves. So now I have two women competing for me. Of course, I'm not going to stop the show. Why would I stop having two women competing for me? Why would I let go of Arion? She's willing to do whatever I want, and Melody makes me look good, so I get the best of both worlds. Why would I can't stop? I can't stop cheating. I don't love Arion like that. I just love the way she makes me feel and the way she makes me look, because now she has my wife pressed. Now she has my wife stressed. Now I have something to hold over my wife. That's why I said I will never compete for a man. Ever. Ever. Women should never compete for a man. That's just, massaging their ego and giving them an excuse to keep doing. Why would you stop cheating if you're getting everything you want in this situation? Men are very practical. If I'm getting everything I want from both women, or getting all my needs met by having two women, why let go of any of these women? The woman's going to have to make the choice for me. And that's what Melody did. And that's also why Martell is mad, because he lost. He forgot Melody was a Scorpio. He didn't know. If you are a Martian, if you are a woman who's an Aries, or a woman who has Mars conjunct her sun, moon, or ascendant, or Mars square or opposite sun, moon, or ascendant, you do not like to be played with, and you will walk away from a situation with your dignity intact. You don't like people controlling you or manipulating you. That's Aries, that's Scorpios, that's anybody with Mars in a square or opposition to their sun, square opposition, conjunction even, to their sun, moon, or ascendant. You don't play when it comes to that. So a lot of men don't understand that certain kinds of women, they would rather be alone than be playing games with your clown ass all day. Melody realized that there was nothing that she could do to appease Martell except destroy herself. That's why she had to bounce. He wasn't going to stop. He needed to have someone like Arion to make him feel better about himself as Melody became more successful in her career. And then the show comes on, right? And then people see, oh my God, this lady is pretty. She's smart. She's this, she's that. And it gets even worse. Martell begins to feel more insecure and more threatened, because as the show progresses, we will start to see that Melody's the one running shit. She's the one asking questions. She's the one, negotiating contracts. She's the one planning for and presenting presentations to potential clients. She's the one doing that. People will see that Martell was just a glorified supervisor that was given a CEO or co-owner position because he's married to Melody. And he did not want people to see that either. Martell knew that being on the show with Melody would expose his demons. It would expose the stuff that's in his closet. That's why I said the show is ruled by Pluto. Pluto will expose your shit. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when I talked about the astrology of the show itself, the astrological chart of the show itself. I mentioned that this show will expose the demons of everybody on this show. All these secrets, all things that are hidden that you don't want people to know about you, this show will bring it out and put it on blast. And then we have this situation with Tisha and a criminal situation, and her arrest record and stuff like that come out. Right? I didn't talk about it too much because I feel like that would be overkill. It was a lot of drama that Tisha isn't a bad person because she has a criminal record. People don't like Tisha because she was jealous of Melody, and Melody was the person that put her on this show and helped her out a lot. And a lot of Black women are triggered by those situations because we go through that a lot. We grow through a lot of situations where some of us are blessed with certain things. We help out our friends and our family, and then we realize that these people are jealous of us. It's very painful and irritating and triggering. So I don't think that Tisha's a bad person because she has an arrest record necessarily, right? I think it's her having to steal things or feeling the need to steal things would give her the disposition to be jealous of another woman who doesn't have to steal. I'll get into that at another time. But yeah, Martell was jealous of Melody. That's why he sabotaged their relationship. He has a poorly aspected Mars that is forcing him to learn how to share, how to contribute and not compete. So because he couldn't compete against Melody and Melody was showing him up naturally, right? He admired Melody and he resented her, just like Tisha. She admired Melody, but she also resented her. So Martell did the same thing that Tisha was doing. It's not a coincidence that Melody has a lot of jealous people around her. That is something she's going to have to contend with in her life because she has Mars in the 12th house, the house of secret enemies. So Mars is basically people competing against you behind your back or people wanting to stab you in the back, right? I don't know what Melody's ascendant is. I made some speculations before, but she has a Scorpio sun, Mars in the 12th house. This is somebody who will stab you in your back. Libra is a sign of relationships and partnerships. Mars is the warrior, the fighter, right? The soldier, right? The person who wants to be in charge and the leader. So you will have people who are pretending to be your friends who will stab you behind your back because you have something that they don't have. So as long as I can use you, Libra, you're cool. But as soon as you start to eclipse me and you show how powerful you are, how successful, how intelligent you are, I'm going to be jealous of you. That's what happens. Melody's Mars is on Tisha's sun. So Melody's ambition, her courageousness, her personality even, her aggressiveness, it makes Tisha feel some kind of way. It invigorates Tisha on the one hand and inspires Tisha, but on the other hand, Tisha begins to feel competitive against Melody for the same reasons that Martell did. Right? So it's not Melody's fault. It's just something that she's going to have to learn how to navigate in her life. Tisha speaks to Dr. Francis. Dr. Francis said something really, really interesting. He said that a last minute trip doesn't mean last minute thinking. So Dr. Francis was telling Tisha, listen, your husband can do whatever he wants to do because he knows you're going to pick up the slack. He knows that you're not going to be irresponsible and abandon the kids while he gets to go out to a whole nother continent. This was not a last minute thing he planned. Nobody plans to go to a whole new continent, in the middle of a pandemic or right after the pandemic on a whim. Nobody does that. Now, Martell does have Venus, not Martell. Marceau does have Venus in Sagittarius. Venus and Sagittarius love to travel. They feel invigorated by traveling. They love different races of people. I wouldn't be surprised if Martell has had interracial relationships before. They love intelligent people as well. They love to have intellectual conversations. And they're stimulated by differences. They don't like to do the same thing every day. It kills them to do that. Marceau has cabin fever in his marriage. So this trip to Tanzania was not a spur of the moment thing. Marceau is a planner. He's a thinker. He told Tisha, oh yeah, it's last minute. He told her it was last minute because he didn't want her to intercept and do her own investigations. So Marceau didn't want Tisha to know about this trip before like a week or a couple of days because he didn't want her to have the time to do any research. Who was he going with? Look at his emails, look at his phone calls. He didn't want her to do any sort of spy work. So let me tell her the last minute so she doesn't have time to intercept me. And Dr. Francis was correct. He can do this because he knows you're going to be there. He knows you're going to be responsible. It's almost like a child. Like a lot of men do this to their wives. A lot of men don't do housework because they know their wives are going to do it, right? They know their wives are going to complain about it, but I'm not going to do it because I know my wife doesn't want to be in a dirty ass house. So I won't clean anything up. I'll just wait for her to do it. And if she asks me to clean it up, I'll act like I can't do it, or I'll do it in a half-ass way to force her to do it anyway. I think this is called a weaponized incompetence, right? When men, are asked to do things to help out around the house, but these men who can put together a car, who can build a house, they can't wash dishes. They can't vacuum the floor, right? The rug, the carpet, they can't mop. They can't sweep. They can't do laundry. All of a sudden, they don't know how to wash clothes, but you know how to put together a goddamn car and a house. So a lot of husbands, they act like they don't know what to do. They don't want to know how to cook. They don't want to know how to clean because they know their wives are going to take up the responsibility because a lot of women don't want to be in a dirty ass house. That's what Marcel does. He knows that Tisha is not going to leave the kids, unattended while he goes to Africa. She ain't going to chase him and say, oh, I'm too responsible. I got to make sure the kids get this under there. So he can do whatever he wants to do. He's using the children to anchor her to the household so that he can roam free. As long as you got things stable at home, right? As long as you're taking care of everything at home, I can do whatever I want to do. I can work from 9 to 5 and then go to the bar and hang out and then come back and expect you to give me head after you spent 15 hours watching after kids, cooking and cleaning the house 3-4 times because there's mess everywhere. Kids make a mess constantly. You got to wash dishes 3 times a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? Kids throw toys on the floor. You got to pick that up constantly, or else somebody's going to get hurt by tripping over a toy. Somebody spilled juice and milk on the floor. The kids need attention. The kids need, it's a lot of stuff that happens. So the men understand this, and they use that to keep women in a certain position. This is why when Marcel was joking, saying, "Is that serious? Men need to have oral sex. Is that bad?" So you're that weak that you're going to destroy your family because you can't jerk off in the bathroom? You can jerk off all you want to. That's free. It is free to jerk off if it's that serious. That's how weak these men are. You're going to destroy the potential to earn millions of dollars because your penis needs to be served. This is why I said Martell's penis was throwing up gang signs last week. When someone throws up gang signs, it's a gesture of hostility, right? Martell's penis became hostile because it wasn't being served, right? However, what a lot of women don't know is that a man's ego is directly tied to his penis. So the way a man feels about himself is expressed through his penis action, okay? So if a man feels insecure about himself, he will use his penis to feel better about himself. That's why so many men have lots and lots of women to conquer with their penis. If a man doesn't have a lot to offer as far as finances, he will use his penis to make himself feel better about his situation instead of fixing it actively. So when Martell said his penis needs weren't being met, he means that he needed Melody to stroke his ego by getting down on her knees and submitting to his penis. Because guess what? I'm insecure about my manhood. I'm insecure about my place in his family. I'm insecure about my identity. So I need you as a woman who is more powerful than me to take off her crown and to get her knees dirty like a peasant to make me feel like a man. This is why Martell spends so much time building up his muscles, right? The appearance is there, but like a somatic narcissist, they care only about how they look to other people. They don't care about having anything else to offer. Me showing up should be the gift. I don't have to give Arion anything. I just have to show up. That's how Arion treated Martell. He don't have to do anything for me. He don't have to commit to me. He don't have to claim me as his, as his girl. He don't got to marry me. He don't have to do nothing. All he has to do is show up, and I'm going to worship him and treat him like I'm, like he's the king. Even though he has no kingdom, even though he has no money, even though his wife built him up, I'm going to treat him like a king because he's a black man with muscles that's relatively attractive. Like a gigolo. A pretty man with no substance that's used just for sex. Martell would be a great gigolo. What else would he be able to do? He should be around a bunch of... But the thing is this. Okay, Martell does not want to be with the type of woman who has to pay for sex. He wants to be with a young, feminine, fit, pretty, beautiful woman that makes him look good, that massages his ego, but he has nothing else he has nothing to offer this lady. He wants the lady to build him up while being on her knees. How am I supposed to build you up on my knees? So you want to use me as a footstool? That's what I'm hearing right now? Is that what's happening? I'm supposed to be your footstool because I'm on my knees. So you got to step on me in order for you to be elevated. Is that what these men expect? Is that what Martell expected Melody to do? And Arion's been doing that. Arion's been a footstool for Martell. But, the footstool's kind of broken because Arion doesn't have anything to offer him except her body. Right? And empty, worthless declarations of love. Martell already had love for Melody. She loved him like crazy. She ignored all his red flags because she loved him so much and she wanted to be with him. Right? She wanted to win Martell because Melody's Mars is square Martell's son. So he was for her, she, saw him as a prize also. That's why Martell married her too, because Melody treated Martell as if he was a prize. She believed everything he said, whatever ideas he came up with, she supported him, right? She valued her husband. But then, like I said, as her value individually increased, Martell felt like he was being undermined by his wife. She was getting the attention that he wanted. So he found Arion. But he will never claim it Arion because she's embarrassing to him. Just like he said his Uncle Sam was embarrassing him. I can imagine how Martell talks to Arion. Because if his uncle could get that kind of response from him, just by, questioning him, don't do that on camera. Don't embarrass me. Never do that on camera. Don't. I can imagine how Martell speaks to Arion. He probably curses her out and talks to her like a dog. If she exposes him. If he's talking about Melody, it's all good. He won't say shit. But as soon as she starts to expose his shit, he will punish her by not claiming her. As soon as Arion got pregnant by Martell and decided to keep the baby, she got downgraded from a girlfriend to my homie. That's my homie. That's my nigga. But he will never claim Arion, but he will not disrespect her publicly either because Arion's mouth is crazy. And Arion does not care about destroying Martell's reputation. She will say whatever the hell she wants to say. And he knows this. He knows that she can really destroy him because she knows where the bodies were buried. She knows everything that Martell was doing to Melody when they were married. He was doing it with her. He was doing it to her. They were laughing about it together. Arion knows everything. That's why she was going to publish a book, right? Whenever Martell and Arion had fallen out, she was threatened to publish a book about everything. And all of a sudden that book is gone. Martell said or did something because Arion would look like trash with the book too. But Martell would look even worse because he was the one who was married. Melody covered and protected Martell to the point where we're still finding out stuff about him 4 years later. Pluto is not done with Martell yet. People are going to start seeing him for who he really... the content creator sleuths and the audience has dug up a lot of stuff because the audience is now acting in the role of Pluto for this particular show. There are people in the audience who will look through the backgrounds of people on this show to expose their personal information, their private information that they didn't want to be disclosed to anybody else. That's Pluto. And I'm not surprised. So long as this cast is on the show, the more skeletons will come out the closet until there's a complete transformation of all the cast members. And no, not all. Maurice and Kimmy are pretty okay, because I think Kimmy is an Aquarius. I don't know what Maurice is, but the Libras on the show, the Capricorns on the show, right? The Scorpio on the show, they're gonna have their tea spilled, and I think Melody already had her spilled for the most part. Martell did too. But again, now we're seeing another dynamic with the family, with the Holtz. We're now seeing that Martell doesn't want to share the spotlight with his family. He wants to be the golden child. That is why he did not want to honor or bring up the uncle who was the son of the grandmother he's honoring. All right, guys, I will leave it there. I'm sure you guys have some interesting comments about what I said. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.